Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to a pregame edition of the Garden Report. We're back inside TD Garden here. A little bit earlier tonight. Definitely quieter here than before that game one when we did this. I don't know if that's the timing or whatever, but crowd's starting to build up outside. Noah Dalzell's here from Celtics blog. We'll have plenty of people filling these seats in this arena shortly here as the Celtics try to take a 2-0 lead in this series. Kristaps Porzingis expected to return to that bench role tonight. He told ESPN in an interview with them yesterday. So don't mess with what worked. You called it going into the game, and it worked well. 20 points in 20 minutes. He did say yesterday, as we mentioned here in the Garden Report, that he is on a minutes restriction. So I'd imagine we won't see too much more than 20 minutes in this one. It could go a little higher if this game's close. And I am expecting a closer game tonight. So Porzingis slowed down a little bit in that second half, but that hot start was the story of game one from him. You're expecting similar production from him in this one?
I don't think you can ask for him to replicate what he did in game one, just because I think that first quarter was pretty magical and pretty hard. Probably the best quarter of his career as far as just the stakes and the efficiency and everything and both ends of the floor. But I think he'll have another good game. 21 minutes is what he played game one. He did say he was on a minutes restriction. I don't know that 21 minutes was his restriction. It probably was a little bit more than that.
Yeah,
or
maybe 25.
Yeah, I mean, it was a blowout at the end there, but maybe he plays a little bit more today if it's close. But it's clear that they're going to up their physicality, make him uncomfortable. To me, it looks like him playing at that level caught them off guard. I'm sure they game planned for him, but it didn't seem like they were expecting that Porzingis to be available for game one. And obviously he was, and I think they're going to come back. Dallas is going to come back with a lot of intentionality to make him uncomfortable and to make sure he's not getting to those spots with ease and not doing what he did last game to really take over.
I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS right now and check out the projections for tonight's game. Points, assists, rebounds. Pick two players, pick more or less on their projections, and you're off there, and they're going to give you 100% matching bonus up to $100 right now over at Prize Picks. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS, and all these seats are empty right now. I don't know how many are for sale, but if any are, go find them on the Game Time app. Download it right now and get $20 off your first purchase when you use the code CLNS. It's Game Time. Now is the best time, right as we record this live, to go check out tickets. And even after tip-off, there'll still be some tickets available probably over there. Go to Game Time, download the app, and use that code CLNS. Terms apply. $20 off your first purchase over there. Speaking of the physicality, speaking against the extra attention they'll show Porzingis in this one. Derek Live, we talked a little bit about that today. I was wondering if he was surprised he was going against Porzingis because he comes off the bench. Porzingis usually starts. So that probably wasn't how they imagined it going if Porzingis was going to play. He said it was. Kid, as you mentioned, could they have been caught off guard by Porzingis looking that good? Kid said no. He knew they were going to play. He knows who Porzingis is at this point. He coached them. So he wasn't thrown off, at least according to him. But Lively said today they're going to bring a little something extra against Porzingis here in this one. Here's what he had to say. That kind of put you in a more prepared position to know that matchup going into the game.
I mean, it's not like I didn't expect a matchup at all. I kind of expected it in the first place because, we're both the tallest people on the court. So now we know what his spots are like, where he likes to get to, and now we just got to make him uncomfortable because we can't let him get into the same comfortability he did at the start of the last game.
How do you guys adjust to some of the things he did in that first half? How do you feel like that worked?
Just being physical. We know that whenever you get into somebody's shit, they ain't going to like it. So whenever you push them on the ground, they get back up and they get put down on the ground again, they're going to be in a different mindset where they were 5 minutes ago.
Is that what you meant when you say let them get too comfortable?
Exactly. I feel like we let him get to his spots. We let him get to the spots where he could just turn around and just lace it down. And there was times where he was picking, popping, and he was just naked on the floor. We can't let that happen. We can't let that happen as bigs and as our rotation.
So pretty aggressive comments right there from Lively for the finals. Everybody's been buttoned up all week, as you expect, not trying to give any motivation. But he was pretty assertive in how they're going to go at Porzingis in this one. You saw it already in the second half. They tightened up on him. There was one mid-ranger where he really got knocked back on his feet by the pressure Dallas showed him in that spot. They were just too passive against him clearly in game one. So there's no doubt they're going to bring it to him here in this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason not to be physical with him, right? It has worked at various moments of his career. I think it worked in Game 2 versus Miami in the first round when he had what he called the worst game of his career as a Celtic. They were being pretty physical with him, though. That's the thing that was funny, is that, it was coming from someone who had 5 fouls in 5 minutes. And so I don't know why he said that. Maybe he didn't mean to, and he got caught up in the moment. Maybe he had some sort of intention or strategy behind why he wanted to say that this morning. I would imagine you probably wouldn't want him to go out there if you're the Mavericks and making those comments this morning and kind of previewing to the Celtics, like, this is what Derek Lively and Dallas is talking about. But I don't read too far into those comments. He's also a rookie, so he's a little bit less seasoned in these things. I think this moment is kind of wild to him. I don't know that he maybe knows all the right things to say. But yeah, they're gonna come at Porzingis very intentionally and very, very physically, I would imagine.
His performance was the most surprising, alongside Porzingis' of Game 1, how bad he was. Dropping passes, unable to get in a lob position. Now, Kidd said he wants them to take the layups because they're giving the lob away. So that's something you're going to expect to see from them. And Luka specifically, he called on to be more aggressive in the pick and roll, taking his own shots inside. It was a bad game for Luka, too. He's injured going into this one, as he has been, lower body, knee, all kinds of things ailing him, and now you had the chest. I think it must have been that play where he took the charge on Brown, where he just got completely barreled backwards. So he wasn't looking comfortable at practice yesterday. I didn't notice, but I think Tomer with Clutch Points tweeted out a video of him just kind of grabbing at his side, grabbing at his chest. He's questionable for this one. Now, Mark Stein is saying he's going to play. But how effective can he be, as injured as he is right now, is starting to become a massive story in this series, alongside Irving's struggles that we talked about yesterday and Lively's struggles at his youthful age. It's all across the board just not looking good for Dallas right now.
Yeah, I think Luka's going to have a good game tonight, honestly. That's my prediction. I do think he's dealing with things. He's been dealing with things all postseason. And he's the kind of player that generally plays through pain and plays through pain pretty effectively. The knee thing, the chest injury or whatever exactly happened, you might be right that it was that play against Brown that he drew the charge. I didn't realize that was where it came from. But he's going to be fine, I think, if he's available to play. If he's unavailable to play, it means that he literally can't, because it's the NBA Finals game 2. I think it would mean that there is something going on that is very severe, or the pain is just unmanageable, or there's a danger factor that's so severe. It's the finals, right? So I actually don't think this injury is going to be a huge factor tonight, just based on the kind of injury that it is and just his track record as a player. But obviously, if he was to be a scratch, that changes everything. And that just, that the whole complexion of that team is completely different at that point. And then obviously you mentioned Kyrie Irving. I thought he had a very illuminating presser yesterday, just spoke very reflectively around his time in Boston, mentioned that this building has been challenging for him. He doesn't need to say it because he's lost 11 in a row here. But certainly you'd expect him to have a bounce-back game of some sort tonight, just because he really, really struggled. And not just that he missed open shots. I thought that the shots that he was taking to the rim, he was not in his comfort zone. Porzingis was affecting him. Al Horford was affecting him. So those are the kinds of things. It's less just he just missed the easy ones. I thought that he was forced into difficult situations at points as well. And then he also missed some easy ones.
Yeah, and they need to get moving more. 9 assists is just ridiculous, and Kidd didn't like it. Kyrie didn't like it. Across the board, Luka 1 assist is unimaginable. That just doesn't happen in a game where he plays real minutes. So they're going to get the ball moving, try to put some guys in space, I'd imagine, try to make them move, different pick and roll combinations, I'd imagine. Try to test Porzingis a little more, I'd imagine, especially into these second halves. This is going to be a closer game tonight. And the number that shows that most to me is Kyrie and Luka shot 8 for 22 on open shots, or wide open shots in the first game. So they're going to get some of those to go, especially the layups. They missed a lot of layups. Definitely a game, I think, that you can point to, at least by the margin. Celtics might have still won, but the reason they won so going away in that one was all the missed shots Dallas had there. And certainly Boston forced turnovers. Boston blocked a ton of shots. It's just some great individual efforts on defense. And if Dallas goes away from the ISO-heavy style, that might open up their offense a little bit more, especially for the other guys. You got to get Jones going. You got to get Washington going. Some of these other guys off the bench you see out there just did nothing in that game, and they need them.
Yeah, and I think to your point, Dallas is going to play better offensively. The other thing is, though, I think the Celtics can also play better. They didn't play a perfect game. And
they had 44 points in the second half.
Right, and then guys like Peyton Pritchard, 0 for 7 in Game 1. Jason Tatum offensively didn't have a big game, 16 points. That's far below what we've come to expect from him this postseason. He's been putting up way more points than that. And so I think there's individual players that are probably going to step up for Boston and have a better game as well. And so it's going to come down to whether the Celtics defensive scheme is as effective as it was in game one, because upon a rewatch, like the Celtics defense in that first half was probably the best half of defense that we've seen this year from them. I mean, everybody, Sam Hauser was coming in and playing, everybody was locked in. They were making things uncomfortable. They were making everything difficult. And yes, like you said, Kyrie and Luka are going to hit a better percentage of their shots, but I think if they're able to execute defensively the way they did in game one, it's not going to matter. That being said, to be able to put together a couple of those efforts in a row is different than just putting together one of those games or one of those halves, because they did take a drop in the second half there. So I look forward to seeing how the Celtics defense looks from the jump, if you're seeing that same level of intensity and kind of locked-inness from everybody, starting from Jaylen Brown and kind of through the roster.
All right, show some love to our other sponsors here, especially HelloFresh. Love HelloFresh, and love that they're throwing in appetizers with every box they send you right now. If you go to HelloFresh.com/GardenApps, that's one appetizer per box, but they'll give it to you for life for as long as you have the subscription there. It's an amazing package that provides whatever dietary needs you need. They'll give you a full vegan box in Noah's case. For me, it's the fish. I always go with the fish box. That's my go-to. Sherrod's big on the meatloaf, the meat package there. It's amazing stuff. And they are going to throw in an appetizer with every box they send you right now. So go to HelloFresh.com/GardenApps. It's customizable. Everything's pre-packaged ingredients, all laid out instructions. Makes cooking fun. So check out HelloFresh.com/GardenApps. And Nutrafol. Game one didn't have you pulling out your hair tonight. Might though. It might be closer. Might go down the wire. So get ahead on hair loss. And for men and women, it's going to save you a decent percentage. Saw a reduction in their hair loss off using Nutrafol. So go to Nutrafol.com/garden and get a discount on your first month over there. That's Nutrafol.com/garden. So who's going to be the key tonight in this one for you on either side? Like, who's going to be the biggest swing player in this game tonight?
Well, for the Mavericks, you have to say Luka and Kyrie, and probably Luka first and foremost. I'm curious, just like we were saying about Porzingis, we're going to be able to tell within a few minutes if he's moving well and looking good. And obviously those first few minutes for Porzingis were very illuminating. I think the same thing with Luka right now with his uncertain injury status. We're all going to be watching to see what he looks like for those first few minutes. I predict that he'll look fine, and he's going to be good to go tonight. And then for the Celtics side, it's so hard to pick one player. That's we've talked about it all year, but that's the beauty of this team, that you don't need Jaylen Brown to have a huge night tonight. You don't need, Drew Holiday can have 2 points tonight and they could win by 20, or maybe he scores 30. We just don't know. What I will say is, though, the Celtics ball movement was really, really good in that first half. That's why they got that lead. It wasn't because they were just on fire or that any one player was shooting lights out. In fact, nobody really was, except for Porzingis in that first quarter. And so to me, the key is not any one player, but it's to continue to play that team first kind of ball movement focused basketball. And obviously there was a lot of discourse about Jalen and Jason yesterday. You'd hope that none of that, you don't see any of that on the court, and all you see is a team that moves the ball exceptionally well, as they have been at their best all year.
I'm going to go Tatum. Got to get much more from him if they are going to change the way they guard. Now, if they stick with throwing 3 guys on him and he's able to just spread it out and get other guys involved wide open, it's not going to look good for Dallas.
So you think they're going to single coverage him?
I think they're going to probably try to move toward more isolation coverage against him. Maybe make him play an ISO the same way that the Celtics tried to make Dallas play that way, attacking some of the mismatches. And I hope that Lively and some of these other guys can hold up better. Lively's got to be much better. Gafford got to be much better. Those guys are better than they played in game one. And I think they're going to. I just don't think this is
PJ
a
Washington.
series.
There's players that are going to step up during the series.
I don't think Dallas is going to go quietly in this series. Now, if Porzingis dominates the way he did in game one, it's going to be nearly impossible for them to win this series, this game, certainly. So all eyes on him, but Tatum's the tone setter, especially against the kind of coverage they see against him. And he just did such a great job diagnosing it in game one. So I feel confident in him. I do think if they single cover him more, he'll be able to burn them more. But he's got to go. There was too many slow possessions in that game, too many shot clocks going down to 8-9 seconds by the time they get into their sets. They slowed him down in that second half, and I think that's a big reason Dallas got back into the game. I think it's a big reason that the Celtics only scored 44 in that second half. So again, Tatum, it was a good game. I thought Max put it perfectly in Ahmed's blog. It was a good Tatum game. It wasn't a great one. I think they're going to need a great one tonight.
Yeah, I think you're right. Tatum's going to have to play better in this series for them to be able to pull this off. But again, like you said, it's all about what kind of coverage they give him, because I think the Celtics are at their best when teams overreact to him, put 2 guys on him like we saw in game one, like we saw Miami in game one. And when teams adjust away from that and put 1 guy on him, I think they generally it hurts the Celtics. Like, I think they're better off when he's gotten so good at passing out of the double team. And so you hope that maybe the Mavs keep doing what they did last game, but you're right, they're probably not going to, and in which case he really needs to take advantage of whoever's guarding him. There's really nobody single coverage-wise that can stop him.
All right, that's it for our preview show here. We're going to go hear what Joe and Kid has to say, confirmation whether or not Luka's going to play in this one. It appears he will. But for now, Noah Dalzell, Bobby Manning. This has been a preview of Game 2. We'll be back later and throughout the night with coverage of Game 2 of the NBA Finals, Celtics Mavericks, 8 o'clock.